So how do you know when it is? Because there are people who have different tests and different trials and lose everything, get it back, etc., etc. But how do you know when it is an actual generational curse of poverty? Um, First of all, and I don't know why God said this, but before I made the video, he said, tell them a generation is actually only 20 years. Because many times we talk about generations, and it does sound big, right? We be thinking that's like a whole bunch of people, but actually a generation is only 20 years. So if you see your parents were poor, your grandparents were poor, the people before that were poor, or maybe as far back as you know, they never had anything, or they struggled very hard to maintain. Headshot Bahia. Many people lived a pretty good life in someone out of that family, but when they died, there was still nothing. And then the child after them or the children after them never had anything. So we can work very, very hard and make things happen, scrape our fingers to the bone and have certain things, or do things we shouldn't do. And that's on the devil's side, and make things happen. But how you know it's a curse is when people come after you and they never have anything. Or as I said, you may be the only one that has something out of your family because of how you scrape your fingers to the bone. You may have something left when you leave. It has shot a Bahia. If there's a curse and you leave it to whoever you left it to, it won't last. There's no generational wealth there. You have to sow your way out. There is no other way. And so when there is a curse, whatever it may be, there's no other way other than following the instructions that God gave you for that curse, that situation. And in this case, God says, sow your way out. And this is part 2. I already have one video from years ago God gave me about this. There's a spiritual law of sowing and reaping. And Galatians 6:7 speaks of that. Whatever you sow, whatever seed you put down, because it's a spiritual law, it must come back up. And when you are in a situation where there is a curse, when it's been generations or a generation or generations of poverty, you have to sow your way out. There's no way around it. You can give here and there. You can preach. You can prophesy. You can fast. You can do whatever you want to do. But whatever the exact instructions God gave you to do, and it's going to consist of sowing. You have to sow where he says to sow, for how for how long he says to sow, the amount he says to sow, to each person he says to sow to. And that's how that happens. There's no way around it. And I'm answering the question for some people on tonight who are dealing with financial problems right now, who have been battling financial problems. You're up for a while, again, scraping your fingers to the bone or hustling or whatever, or some people doing things they shouldn't do. You shot a Bahia. God just gave me an awesome example of a generational curse. Have you ever seen people who nobody's ever had anything and somebody hits the lottery and all of a sudden that money's just gone? My God, I feel the Holy Ghost so heavy on me right now. Another example God gave me is, you know how people hit lawsuits? I know some people, all they do is sue people, and they get stacks on stacks on stacks on stacks. Some people have had more, some people have had more money come through their hand than any of their past mom, dad, grandma, etc., and died without a penny to show for it, and or right now have nothing to show for it. You have to break that generational curse, because no matter how much money comes into your hands, when that curse is on your generation, it will not last. It will not. And God sent me here on tonight to say this. And you have to sow your way out. First step, I believe I'm talking to all saved people, but if you're not, receive Jesus Christ. Receive his finished works. Pray prayerfully. Find an anointed man / both woman of God, a church covering, spiritual covering. where you can be taught the word more perfectly. Because many people think they know the word, but they really don't. You got many theologians out here that don't understand spiritual principles. You got many people who are, I'm a Christian to myself, in my house by myself. How's that going? So you got to link in to save people. And at some point, you or those people will get the direction, the instruction. And I'm trying to get all off. I'm trying to stay on the subject, the one generational curse we're talking about right now, which is poverty. So I'm going to stick to it. Sow your way out, part 2.